In November of 2016, a Taiwanese man named Cai Jeng Ze walked nervously through Yangon International Airport in Myanmar en route to Taiwan. He is stopped by airport police and upon inspection, they find 80 grams of ketamine taped to each of his thighs and arrest him. Cai was just a courier, but what he carried on his 2 iPhones was far more valuable than the drugs on his body. When anti-narcotic agents hacked into his devices, they discovered a gold mine of information. A large collection of texts, calls, photos, videos, and social media conversations. Among the photos was the face of a man known from numerous drug surveillance operations, Cai Lop. Unknown at the time, Cai ran an empire worth more than the likes of Pablo Escobar and El Chapo combined. McDonald's, Starbucks, HP, Kraft Heinz, some of the largest corporations in the world couldn't come close to what Cai generated in annual revenue. Cai surpassed them all. Law enforcement agencies from around the world quickly mobilized, sharing resources and intelligence to dismantle Cai's vast network and take him down. The hunt for Asia's most wanted criminal had begun. Cai Lop was born in 1963 in Guangzhou, Guangdong Province, a region at the time greatly affected by the Cultural Revolution. This period, led by Mao Zedong, aimed to protect Chinese communism by getting rid of capitalistic elements. Guangzhou, a major port city, faced major changes. The revolution caused widespread chaos. Schools closed, people that spoke out were persecuted, and young people joined the Red Guard, a student-led paramilitary social movement. Growing up in this environment, Cai experienced a world of instability where survival often required being resourceful and adaptable. These exact skills would later define him as the world's largest drug lord. At 25 years old, Cai moved to Canada, joining many others fleeing before Hong Kong's transfer of sovereignty in 1997. He brought his fiancée and parents with him and they settled in Toronto, Canada. Here, Cai and his wife had 2 children, a daughter and a son. During his early years there, Cai worked for companies such as Fujifilm and Kodak, living a seemingly ordinary life while secretly laying the groundwork for something much bigger. While in Canada, Cai Lop became involved with the Big Circle Boys aka BCB, an infamous international criminal organization. The BCB gang actually originated in Guangzhou in the 1960s and expanded globally, but had significant crime operations in Canada. The group before Cai was known to be pretty unorganized, which allowed members to operate almost on their own while still benefiting from the gang's resources and connections. In Toronto, during the late 1990s, Cai quickly built a reputation for himself within the BCB gang. The city was a hotspot for Asian organized crime. He used this environment to his advantage. The Big Circle Boys were originally known for violent crimes in Hong Kong like bank robberies and jewelry store robberies. But the BCB had to change their approach to fit their new home in Canada. As times changed, Cai realized the gang needed to evolve, steering the group towards more sophisticated and profitable crimes like credit card fraud, identity theft, and human smuggling in their early years operating outside of Hong Kong. While other criminal organizations in Toronto were murdering each other over small amounts of money, the BCB created a whole new enterprise. They brought an industrial approach to organized crime, and Cai would become their greatest innovator. Recognizing the potential for large-scale heroin shipments, Cai set the groundwork for creating one of the most impressive drug shipment networks in North America. His operation involved importing high-quality heroin from Thailand using existing routes already utilized by other criminal organizations. To avoid causing a gang war, Cai offered his men to the Rizzuto family to strengthen their other operations. The Rizzuto crime family is a powerful Italian-Canadian organized crime group based in Montreal, notorious for their involvement in drug trafficking, money laundering, and contract killings. In return, the Rizzutos allowed Cai to use the ports they controlled. This partnership was crucial. as it helped the smooth transit of drugs through Montreal into the United States. Ze also formed alliances with other gangs and crime families involved in drug trafficking, much like he did with the Rizzuto family. At this point in Ze's life, he didn't have much experience, so his approach to trafficking was very traditional. But he wanted to make sure the drugs he was smuggling were of high quality, so he got his heroin shipments from Southeast Asia, particularly from Thailand. This region at the time was known for producing some of the purest heroin in the world, making it highly sought after in the North American markets. Ze understood the demand for the product and was determined to meet it. Where he lacked experience, he made up for it with a sharp eye for the drug market. Like we talked about before, to move the heroin from Thailand to North America, Ze used already established smuggling routes. These drugs were typically moved through countries with less strict customs before arriving in Canada. He used a combination of sea and land routes, taking advantage of mostly seaports and his established alliances there. The drugs were often concealed in shipments of goods, such as electronics or food. This allowed the drugs to blend in, making it harder for anyone to seize them. By 1997, Ze was the person sourcing all of the drugs from Asia. But with success in the drug trade comes notoriety, and eventually the police hear your name, and it's your name that breaks you. Luckily for Ze, back in 1997, law enforcement didn't have access to the advanced technology we have today, like 3D AI Studio. Imagine if the police could generate detailed 3D models of suspects or crime scenes in seconds. That's exactly what 3D AI Studio does, but for creators, not cops. This cutting-edge AI technology allows you to transform text prompts or images into high-quality 3D models effortlessly. Trusted by professionals at Unity and Epic Games, 3D AI Studio is revolutionizing workflows across industries. Whether you're developing games, 3D printing, creating animations, or working on any project requiring 3D assets, this tool can save you countless hours. Visit 3daistudio.com and use code Cipher for 30% off today. Law enforcement agencies across multiple countries began to take notice. The massive scale of his heroin smuggling and the increased flow of drugs into North America raised massive alarm bells. So the FBI, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, and local police forces in Canada launched a huge collaborative effort to track Ze's new network. Undercover agents and informants were deployed to infiltrate Ze's network, trying to gather information about how he was getting the drugs into the country. After some time and luck, the task force traced the routes of Ze's heroin supply chain back to Southeast Asia. Also, intelligence gathered from informants stated that Ze was operating with a high degree of mobility, frequently moving between various Asian countries to oversee operations. Despite his efforts to evade the authorities, Ze made a critical mistake by traveling to Hong Kong, a place with strong extradition agreements with many Western countries. In August of 1998, he was quickly detained by local authorities, who had been tipped off by the task force intelligence. Following his arrest, Ze faced charges of conspiracy to import heroin into the United States. The task force had compiled overwhelming evidence against him, leading Ze to strike a deal and plead guilty in exchange for a 9-year prison sentence. During his time in prison from 1998 to 2006, Ze Chi-lop made multiple valuable connections that would significantly improve his future in the global drug market. His main connection was with a man named Lee Chung-chak, a well-known cross-border smuggler and fellow Hong Kong citizen. Lee's dealings spanned multiple countries, making him a key ally for anyone looking to expand their reach and profits. While in prison, these men had thousands of hours to discuss strategies, share knowledge, and plan their future work together. What they talked about and later planned while inside was a more advanced and widespread network that could handle large-scale drug shipments with greater efficiency and less risk. When Ze was released in 2006, he returned to Toronto, where his family still lived, but realized he had outgrown the city. His connections with the Rizzuto crime family were mostly still imprisoned or entangled in costly and bloody personal vendettas. He reconnected with multiple contacts he had established during his 8 years inside, including Lee Chung-chak, just like they had planned. Ze quickly realized that the world had changed significantly during his time behind bars. Hong Kong had fully reverted back to Chinese control, and China had since joined the World Trade Organization, opening up new opportunities for international operations. And that wasn't the only thing that had changed. The demand for heroin was declining, while the market for synthetic drugs was rapidly increasing. Asia, in particular, was experiencing a spike in synthetic drug use, with demand being 5 times that of North America. On top of that, synthetic drugs were much cheaper to produce compared to traditional drugs like heroin. It takes thousands of farmers to generate a metric ton of heroin. It only takes a few guys in a lab to make a ton of meth. The materials pseudoephedrine, anhydrous ammonia, and red phosphorus are extremely inexpensive, costing less than $1,000 per ton in some instances, and are widely accessible in many parts of Asia. Methamphetamine is a pure profit drug. Learning all of this, Ze saw his opportunity and recognized that he could change the entire business model of illegal drugs. By 2011, Ze relocated to China. His move back to China was strategic as it placed him closer to what is known famously as the Golden Triangle, which is an area in the center touching parts of Myanmar, Laos, and Thailand. The Golden Triangle was notorious for being one of the largest drug-producing regions in the world, historically known for its heroin production. It's governed by independent militias and warlords who finance themselves through the drug trade. Even though heroin was less sought after, Ze knew that the region had well-established drug production infrastructure and that it was a remote, lawless area, which made it an ideal place for manufacturing his synthetic drugs. Essentially, by setting up shop in the Golden Triangle, Ze could produce large quantities of synthetic drugs at a very low cost and distribute them across Asia and beyond easily because of the Golden Triangle location, and not to mention his connection with jailmate Lee Chung-chak, who would help facilitate the transit of drugs through his already established smuggling routes. Following his relocation to China, Ze used his network of contacts in the drug market to form one of the most powerful and sophisticated drug syndicates in the world, the Samgor Syndicate, meaning brother number 3 in Cantonese, also known by the world as the company. Ze positioned himself at the top of the organization, or CEO of the company. In the early days of Samgor, Ze did what he does best: bring people together and solve people's problems. Hong Kong and Macau's 3 largest triads, 14K, Sun Yee-on, and Wo Xingwo, are massive and powerful criminal organizations known for their extreme violence. These rival triads often went to war, but Ze was able to unite them to cooperate on the drug trade. He even managed to bring in the Big Circle Boys, the Bamboo Union from Taiwan, and the biker gangs from Australia. This merger of gangs and triads under one umbrella was unheard of, creating a vast network of resources and enlarging their drug market capabilities. Unlike many drug lords who diluted their products to increase volume and profit margins, Ze prioritized purity and potency. This type of quality control had amazing benefits for Ze's drug business. His high-quality drugs built trust with his customers, securing repeat orders and a loyal client base. Users preferred Ze's drugs due to their consistency and purity. The superior quality allowed Ze to charge higher prices. This also enabled reinvestment in better production equipment. Over time, the reputation for quality became almost like a marketing tool for their product. Ze's drugs were recognized and sought after all over the world. The company's market dominance continued to grow because of this. Ze revolutionized drug distribution while being CEO. He developed an incredibly advanced logistics network that stretched the entire globe. The company used multiple ways to transport their products. Ships, planes, and truckloads moved products quickly and discreetly whenever they needed to go. A key feature of the company's business plan was a guarantee of delivery, which was unheard of in the drug trade. If a shipment was intercepted or seized by authorities, Ze guaranteed to replace it at no additional cost to the buyer. The promise to always deliver meant that customers knew they would get their drugs for sure. This was really important in a business where things often go wrong and people take big risks. Being so dependable gave Ze's operation a huge edge over the competition. The cheap production costs of synthetic drugs, especially methamphetamine, let Ze promise delivery without hurting his profits too much. A kilo of methamphetamine would cost $4,000 to produce, but yielded a value of $200,000 in the streets. Sam Gore only needed 1 out of 15 shipments to arrive to break even. Every shipment over that was pure profit. This smart money management tactic showed how efficient and innovative his operation was, and to produce the volume needed to keep this promise, Ze set up one of the most impressive drug production facilities ever created. The distribution network was truly global. Major markets included Australia, Japan, and several Southeast Asian countries. Later, Ze would use a similar strategy like he did back in his younger days in Canada and at the beginning of Sam Gore. He again formed alliances with other powerful crime families and gangs worldwide in places like North America and Europe. Unlike old-school drug gangs like the Mexican Sinaloa or Colombian Medellin, the company ran more like a modern-day Fortune 500 company. Ze used business ideas you'd usually see in normal companies, which is usually unheard of in the drug trade that is usually known more for violence and intimidation tactics. Ze, running a drug business so sophisticated, also made it difficult for worldwide authorities to catch up with them. Local police were used to thugs and gangbangers being sloppy, not businessmen and professionalism. Their complex shipping system made it hard for police to find and stop drug deliveries. Using real businesses as cover-ups made it even tougher for authorities to spot what was really going on. Ze set up or brought out import or export companies that handled a lot of legitimate goods that didn't get much attention. Drugs were concealed within legitimate shipments. For example, methamphetamine could be dissolved in liquids and later extracted. Sam Gore's signature shipping method was to hide the drugs in loose leaf green tea packages, each one neatly holding about a kilo of meth. Real businesses made the shipments look trustworthy, so they were less likely to be checked. Doing normal legal business made everything seem legit on the surface. While all of this seems impressive in itself, what was truly impressive was the way Ze and the company used encryption software to keep their communication secure. Software ensured that messages, calls, and emails were scrambled and that only the right people could read if they had the special code to unlock it. Messages often included code words to further conceal the true nature of their discussions. Even if messages were somehow intercepted, they would still not know anything. They didn't only revolutionize gang communication, they revolutionized using technology in every aspect of their business. They would use GPS and satellite tracking tech to watch where their drug shipments were at all times. This let them change the route of shipments quickly if they thought the police might catch on or if there was any other danger. In some cases, blockchain technology was used. This made sure that all the info about shipments, money, and other deals was kept safe. It was almost impossible for anyone to fake these records. Ze made sure to keep everything safe. The company's cybersecurity measures were top of the line. The company had an entire cybersecurity division protecting their digital infrastructure from hacks and law enforcement infiltration. Firewalls, intrusion detection systems, and secure servers were all part of their infrastructure. In addition, Sam Gore also specialized in the art of money laundering. While a lot of companies already use casinos to launder, Sam Gore coordinated with junket tour operators to execute money laundering on an industrial level. Since gambling is illegal in China, citizens have to disguise their transactions. They manage this through junket tour operators, which are plentiful in Asia and often publicly traded companies. These operators collaborate with casino to attract high rollers, offering perks like complimentary hotels, private flights, and most crucially, access to cash. The casinos extended credit to these junket operators, facilitating the gamblers' needs. The process involves a gambler depositing money in a junket operator's account in one country and then accessing it in another, effectively moving money without physically transferring it or using traditional banking systems. Gambling was a huge part of Sam Gore's system, but it was also a large part of Ze's lifestyle. It's been reported that he lost 60 million euros one night playing the tables in Macau. Although how much did he make from the money being laundered that trip? Ze also used trade-based money laundering by manipulating trade deals through overcharging and undercharging to hide the movement of funds. Real estate investments also became a favorite method as they bought, sold, or rented expensive properties to generate clean income. With the rise of crypto, the company quickly started using Bitcoin and other coins, buying digital assets like NFTs for example, to move large amounts of money across global accounts anonymously. So it then hired professionals like accountants, lawyers, and financial advisors to make their schemes even more elaborate by exploiting legal loopholes, creating fake businesses all around the world, making it extremely difficult to track where the money came from. The company successfully laundered billions of dollars every year. For the second time, Tzu Lop had revolutionized the drug game. By the late 2010s, Samgor had a market share of 40 to 70% of the $90 billion Asian market, and over 20 agencies would have to work together to catch him. The key to this manhunt came from the arrest of Cai Jeng Ze in November 2016 at the Yangon International Airport. When they found important information on his 2 iPhones, that gave authorities information into who was really running this massive syndicate. Authorities saw Ze as a major threat and launched a massive coordinated effort to bring him to justice. Operation Kungar, led by the Australian Federal Police with help from the United States DEA and Southeast Asian authorities. Their aim was to figure out Samgor's supply chains through surveillance, wiretaps, and raids. At the same time, Project Brisa by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police focused on stopping their business activities in Canada. With both of these operations going on at the time all over the world meant a huge influx of information about Ze and the company's structure due to lower-level members of the syndicate being arrested. They would often offer information in exchange for reduced sentences. This information was then shared to everyone involved on the anti-drug task forces. Soon, the massive amount of information started leading to countless arrests and drug seizures, crumbling Samgor and causing panic internationally. As more information came out, Australian police got Interpol to issue an international warrant for Ze's arrest. With his name now well known, his connections and large network began to back away from him. Ze tried to escape to Taiwan, using his last contacts there. However, international pressure made the Taiwanese government expel him. This forced Ze to run to Canada, hoping to find a safe place. Despite his efforts to hide, the authorities continued to close in on him. But it wasn't until January 2021 at Amsterdam's Schiphol Airport where Dutch authorities apprehended Tzu Lop as he tried to board a flight to Canada. Following Ze's arrest, the focus shifted to extraditing him to Australia. The reason being he caused a record-setting meth epidemic there. At the time, Australia had the highest rate of meth use in the English-speaking world, with 7% of the population using the drug. The company provided 70% of Australia's meth, leading to a countrywide health and safety issues. Australian authorities were hell-bent on holding him accountable for his role in this. After arriving in Australia, he faced multiple charges like drug trafficking, money laundering, conspiracy, bribery, and many more. Tzu Lop's arrest in 2021 had major and immediate impacts on the Samgor syndicate. It disrupted the leadership, creating a power gap at the top, leading to internal power struggles and less efficient operations. Authorities had hoped that by removing Ze, they could destabilize the syndicate. While lower-level leaders tried to keep the business running, the absence of Ze's strategic vision was a significant blow. On a broader scale, Samgor's collapse had a major impact on the global drug supply. Disrupting their operation created instability in the market, as the syndicate's dominance had previously maintained order in a rather chaotic industry. Other criminal groups quickly moved to fill the void, leading to a surge in violence and further complications globally. Despite Ze's arrest, the synthetic drug trade continues to thrive. The battle against synthetic drugs is unwinnable. No matter how many criminals are apprehended or drug shipments are confiscated, there will always be more of both. Tzu Lop ran 2 of the largest drug networks in history, across different decades and on different continents. His legacy shows just how powerful and influential his operations were, creating one of the most professional crime businesses in history. Ze's activities had a huge impact on public health and sent authorities on one of the biggest manhunts in world history. In many ways, he's like a real-life Walter White criminal mastermind.